Welcome back to the most shocking mythology deep dive on YouTube. If you watched part 1, you already know that Marvel's Thor bears almost no resemblance to the actual Norse god that Vikings worshipped. But if you thought Thor's transformation was dramatic, you haven't seen anything yet. Today we're diving into Loki and Odin, and I'm warning you right now, what you're about to learn is going to completely shatter everything you think you know about these characters. Let's start with Loki, because his real story is so wild that Marvel had to completely reinvent not just his personality, but his entire origin just to make him suitable for family-friendly entertainment. In the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Loki is Thor's adopted brother, a frost giant raised as an Asgardian prince who struggles with daddy issues and sibling rivalry. That's a nice, clean family drama that audiences can understand and relate to. The real Loki? He wasn't Thor's brother at all. He was Odin's blood brother, which makes their relationship infinitely more complex and disturbing than anything Marvel showed us. According to the actual Norse sources, Odin and Loki performed a blood oath ritual that made them brothers by choice, not by adoption. This wasn't some sentimental family moment. This was a binding magical contract that meant they were literally stuck with each other until the end of the world. But here's where it gets really interesting. Loki wasn't just a shapeshifter who could look like other people. He was a complete gender-fluid deity who regularly transformed into female forms and actually gave birth to children. Yes, you heard that right. Loki spent years living as a female horse, got pregnant by a stallion, and gave birth to Sleipnir, Odin's 8-legged horse. Marvel somehow forgot to mention that particular family relationship in their movies. And Sleipnir wasn't even Loki's strangest child. He also gave birth to Fenrir, the giant wolf prophesied to devour Odin at Ragnarök, and Jörmungandr, the world serpent that's destined to kill Thor. Oh, and let's not forget Hel, the goddess of death who rules over the realm of the dishonored dead. So when people call Loki the mother of monsters, they're being absolutely literal. Think about that for a second. In authentic Norse mythology, Loki is simultaneously the creator of Odin's most trusted steed and the parent of the creatures prophesied to kill both Odin and Thor. That's the kind of complex, morally ambiguous relationship that would make a phenomenal psychological thriller, but it's way too complicated for a superhero movie where you need clear heroes and villains. Marvel's Loki is this charming anti-hero who deep down just wants his father's approval and his brother's respect. The mythological Loki was something far more fascinating and terrifying. He was chaos incarnate, the necessary disruptor who forced change when the world became too stagnant. He wasn't evil in the way we understand it. He was the force that prevented the universe from becoming static and boring. Here's a perfect example. There's a story where Loki cut off Sif's beautiful golden hair as a prank while she was sleeping. When Thor threatened to break every bone in his body, Loki didn't just apologize. He went to the Dark Elves and commissioned not only new hair for Sif that was even more beautiful than the original, but also Gungnir, Odin's spear, and several other legendary artifacts. Loki's mischief directly led to the creation of some of the most powerful magical items in Norse mythology. That's the real Loki. Not just a troublemaker, but a catalyst who forces everyone around him to become better, stronger, more creative. His tricks and schemes don't just cause problems, they force solutions that never would have existed otherwise. Marvel turned him into a villain seeking power and recognition, but the mythological Loki was more like a cosmic therapist who used chaos and disruption to force growth and change. But here's what Marvel really couldn't handle about the authentic Loki. His relationship with gender and sexuality was so fluid and complex that it challenged every traditional category. In a culture where gender roles were extremely rigid, Loki regularly spent years living as a woman, bearing children, and experiencing life from completely different perspectives. He wasn't just wearing a disguise. He was exploring every possible way of existing. Now let's talk about Odin, because this is where Marvel made their most dramatic moral whitewashing in the entire MCU. Anthony Hopkins' Odin is this wise, noble father figure who makes difficult decisions for the greater good. He's stern but ultimately loving, flawed but trying to do right by his sons and his people. The real Odin? He was one of the most morally questionable deities in any mythology, and that's saying something. The authentic Odin was obsessed with knowledge and power to the point where he would literally do anything to obtain them. He hung himself from the world tree Yggdrasil for 9 days and nights, pierced by his own spear, just to gain the knowledge of the runes. He traded his eye for a drink from the well of wisdom. But here's what Marvel didn't tell you. He was also a chronic oath-breaker, a manipulator, and someone who regularly betrayed his own followers when it served his purposes. There's a story called the Saga of the Volsungs, where Odin promises a king named Volsung victory in battle, then changes his mind and arranges for Volsung's defeat and death because he decided he liked Volsung's enemy better. When Volsung's daughter Sigurd calls him out on this betrayal, Odin basically shrugs and says, "That's just how things work sometimes." This is not the behavior of a noble father figure. This is the behavior of a cosmic politician who sees mortals as chess pieces. Odin was also the leader of the Wild Hunt, a terrifying spectral army that would ride through the sky gathering the souls of the dead. When people heard the thunder of hooves and howling winds, they would hide indoors because being seen by the Wild Hunt was often a death sentence. Marvel's Odin sends Thor to Earth to learn humility. The mythological Odin would ride through villages at night, collecting souls for his army. But here's what makes Odin truly fascinating from a mythological perspective. He embodied the Viking understanding that wisdom and power come with terrible costs. Every piece of knowledge he gained required a sacrifice. Every victory he achieved came with moral compromise. He wasn't a figure to be admired. He was a figure to be feared and respected. Someone who showed what happens when the pursuit of wisdom becomes an obsession. The relationship between mythological Odin and Loki was nothing like the father-son dynamic Marvel created. These were two ancient powers locked in a blood brotherhood that neither could escape, each using the other for their own purposes, while knowing that their relationship was ultimately doomed to end in mutual destruction. Odin needed Loki's chaos to prevent his kingdom from becoming stagnant, and Loki needed Odin's order to give his chaos meaning and direction. Here's something Marvel completely ignored. Odin knew from prophecy that Loki's children would be the instruments of his destruction, but he couldn't kill them because of his blood oath with Loki. Instead, he tried to contain them, chaining Fenrir, casting Jörmungandr into the ocean, and banishing Hel to the underworld. But Norse mythology teaches us that trying to prevent prophecy only ensures it comes true. Every action Odin took to protect himself only made his prophesied doom more certain. This creates a tragic irony that Marvel missed completely. Odin and Loki were trapped in a relationship where they simultaneously needed each other and were destined to destroy each other. That's not a family drama about learning to get along. That's a cosmic tragedy about the inevitability of fate and the price of knowledge. The real Odin also had relationships with women that were far more complex than Marvel's sanitized version. He had numerous wives and lovers, not because he was unfaithful, but because different aspects of his power required different types of relationships. His wife Frigg represented the ordered domestic aspect of rulership, while his various other relationships represented different types of knowledge and power he needed to maintain his position as king of the gods. But perhaps the most shocking thing about the authentic Odin is that he was preparing for his own defeat from the moment he gained power. Everything he did, gathering warriors in Valhalla, seeking knowledge through sacrifice, maintaining his alliance with Loki despite knowing it would destroy him, was part of his preparation for Ragnarok. He wasn't trying to prevent the end of the world. He was trying to ensure that something would survive it. This is where Norse mythology becomes truly profound in a way that Marvel couldn't capture in a superhero movie. The real Odin understood that all power is temporary, all kingdoms fall, and all gods eventually face their own destruction. His greatness wasn't in being invincible, it was in facing inevitable defeat with wisdom and courage. Marvel turned Odin into a father figure who makes mistakes, but ultimately wants what's best for his children. The mythological Odin was a cosmic force who understood that sometimes wisdom requires terrible choices, and that the pursuit of knowledge inevitably leads to your own destruction. He wasn't a character you were supposed to love. He was a character you were supposed to understand and fear. Now, if you think the transformations of Thor, Loki, and Odin are dramatic, wait until you hear what Marvel did to Heimdall and Freya in Part 3. We're talking about characters whose real mythological roles were so powerful and complex that Marvel had to completely reinvent their entire purpose in the cosmic order. Heimdall wasn't just a guardian of a bridge. He was a deity with powers that made him arguably more important than Odin himself. And Freya. She was the most feared and respected goddess in the entire Norse pantheon, commanding magic so powerful that even Odin had to learn from her. But here's the question I want you to think about as we end this part. Why did Marvel feel the need to turn these complex, morally ambiguous figures into simplified heroes and villains? What does it say about our modern mythology that we can't handle gods who are simultaneously creators and destroyers, protectors and betrayers, wise and foolish? Because that's exactly what we're going to explore in Part 3, how Marvel transformed the most powerful magical beings in Norse mythology into supporting characters, and what we lost when they made those changes.